I said unto you, I'm butchering some of these verses, I'm sorry. I go away and come unto you again, and come again unto you. If you loved me, you would rejoice, because I said, I go unto my Father, unto the Father, for my Father is greater than I. That's an interesting verse. Father is greater than I. And now I have told you before it come to pass. When it has come to pass, you might believe. So again, predicting his death, right? Mm-hmm. Hereafter, I will not talk much with you, for the prince of this world cometh, and hath nothing in me. So predicting Satan coming and having nothing in him. So, and what does Satan do in Revelation 12:9? It talks about Satan being the deceiver of the whole earth. But that the world may know that I love the Father, and as the Father gave me commandment, even so I do. Arise, let us go hence.
That's beautiful.
John 15. Dude, it's great how much time we're getting. I was telling Unfriendly Furs before we started this podcast that I was going to have to go because my brother-in-law caught a deer. I was going to help bring the deer out of the woods. Nothing's happening yet, which is a bit surprising.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's like you're getting this opening. This is great. You have all this time to hang out. Yeah. I remember being. I was about to
call it off a little bit before.
Yeah, no, this is great. And then it's interesting thinking about the roles of the Father and Jesus here, where it like you've talked about, like the Old Testament being this like more coarse version of the law, and Jesus came to fulfill it, but Jesus does so in the flesh, and you can understand it better. It's like the reading of it, or like the kind of hidden or mysterious nature of God was too confusing, that God needed to send Jesus so that he could fulfill it and show you in the flesh what it means. And
yeah, in the flesh. I think that's why Jesus says that the Father is greater than him, because there's only so much power you could put into a mortal form on earth.
Right. Yeah, he can't like zip around and fly 1,000,000 miles per hour. I mean, he's limited to a human body, and maybe he can heal and perform these miracles, but still he has limitations on him. I mean, somewhat. I mean, not like compared to us, it doesn't seem like there's many, but definitely compared to God, he has limitations.
Well, I remember in Exodus when Moses sees the face of the Father, as what I assume it is, his face goes completely like black, completely white. Like to even behold God's power in a vessel is much different than seeing God in his true form.
Yeah, there is some interesting imagery of that image of God in Ezekiel too.
Okay, with Owen Benjamin, my problem with my introduction to the flat Earth was he would constantly reject Jesus as being God. That was a big thing brought up over and over and over, and he even had the huge debates about the Trinity and stuff like that. So that was the little poisonous M&ms that was in Owen Benjamin. With Zachary Hubbard, like you were saying earlier, he didn't have the element of flat Earth, and it's true. I didn't even know he talked about fake history. That's kind of interesting.
Well, yeah, he goes into the gematria of it. One of my favorite. He had this book. I actually got it. It's like an online book. One of my favorite things I always bring up that he introduced me to was the whole John Wilkes Booth, Lee Harvey Oswald. So John Wilkes Booth killed Abraham Lincoln at the theater in 1863. Lee Harvey Oswald supposedly killed JFK in the big driving theater, really, in 1963. They both have three names. It's the same date.
Oh, wait, that's crazy.
It's the same date. It's the same year. It's just like this, like 63. And like I'm just like, oh my god, like these big shootings happened 1-to-1, and like they have such a convincing system, or we're just so, I don't know, we're so plotted around and pushed around, and we don't think to research this stuff for ourselves, to how obvious and plain and like in your face and dumb it is. Like learning the 33 thing and then just going KKK equals 33 is just like in your face. Like AIDS is 33, just in your face fake shit. That
Holocaust 33.
Holocaust is 33, yeah. all this stuff, it's insane because it's like these people act like it's such a big deal and they get all up and crazy about it, but then you realize the whole time it's just, wow, that's so stupid. They just made this little horror story and made a code word for it, and that's it. And it's so dumb. On that appearance of God thing, oh my God, I was reading through some of Ezekiel today, and
that's a fascinating one, huh?
so it talks about the four beasts, the four-headed beast with four faces, and again was brought up an eagle and a lion, which is a recurring image. It's always this eagle lion, like two of them are recurring in these chimeric big bestial characters, and this just I want to see if I can get to the exact. Okay, so it's Ezekiel 1. And I want to get to I think it's 22 maybe? Yeah. Let's see. Or maybe, I don't know. It's so good, I want to read the whole thing, but I guess I'll start with around 20. Whithersoever the Spirit was to go, this is Ezekiel chapter 1, 20. They went. Thither was their spirit to go, and the wheels were lifted up over against them. For the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. When those went, these went, and when those stood, these stood, and when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up over against them. For the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. And the likeness of the firmament upon the heads of the living creature was as the color of the terrible crystal stretched forth over their heads above. And under the firmament were...
I've got no idea.
Dude, this gets so wild. And under the firmament were their wings straight, the one toward the other. Everyone had two, which covered on this side, and everyone had two, which covered on that side, their bodies. And when they went, I heard the noise of their wings like the noise of great waters, as the voice of the Almighty, the voice of speech as the noise of a host. When they stood, they let down their wings. And there was a voice from the firmament that was over their heads when they stood, and had let down their wings. And above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone. And upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as the appearance of a man above upon it. So a sapphire throne is this, okay, that this character, God, or this person is upon. And I saw as the color of amber, as the appearance of fire round about within it. So amber within a sapphire, from the appearance of his loins even upward, and from the appearance of his loins even downward, I saw as it were the appearance of fire, and had brightness round about. As the appearance of the bow that is in the cloud in the day of the rain, so was the appearance of the brightness round about. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. And when I saw it, I fell upon my face, and I heard a voice of one that spake. Like, holy crap. So, sapphire throne, and then it sounds like he's within this elliptical amber fire. Like,
yeah.
What the... Like, it makes sense. Like, that's what it would look like. But that's not what's really portrayed in the media. It's like this guy in the clouds when it's like this figure. You can't really see him, but he's on a sapphire throne and he's covered in this amber fire. You can kind of make out his silhouette. And like, that is so much richer than what, I don't know, what's shown on TV basically. And wow, like,
one of my interpretations of it, kind of going in earlier, it talks about putting hands on the beast. I thought it might have been like the prediction of the four Gospels, but I don't really know.
Oh yeah, they keep mentioning that the cherubims and the hands on the beasts, and then there's like the human hands hidden underneath some of the wings. It's such an interesting one. I don't even know how to explain it. I don't freaking know. It's so wild. It is like, it's like this, like they kind of put, or like the Bible, like it's like they prep you for the wildness that is Revelation, with a little bit of Ezekiel, a little bit of Daniel. Like there's some passages here that blow my mind. They really need to be studied with a magnifying glass.
Right, like every word matters in that one.
Yeah.
And Strange Realm was thinking like it was like a UFO kind of thing. Like just such a weird object, and like if you look up images of it, it does kind of look like a UFO, something that would fly around it. Who knows? But you're right. It's something about the glory of God. That's very true.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep going on my verse if that's okay.
Oh, for sure. Sorry.
No, you're fine. as always, bring up whatever. I'm the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away, and every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit. What I really appreciated about Hans's gardening video, he was talking about like what purging is and how it amplifies the fruit. So as Christ's followers, we're going to be brought through these different instances that make us better. Like anything, this is kind of obvious, but it's like, are you really that great of a person? Are you really that good if you're always playing life on easy mode? We're constantly being brought into these trials and tribulations to make us better. Because if we didn't go through anything ever, then we wouldn't be great at all. So it's about appreciating the bad times too, because that's us being purged by the Father.
Yeah.
Bringing forth more fruit.
Yeah, and it's so helpful to go through that with the idea that like, okay, God has this trial set out for me, and I know I'm going to get through it, and it may be difficult, but it's going to make me stronger on the other end, and I'm going to be more helpful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. It made me think of Overwatch. It's like in Overwatch, you got to be playing against high difficulty all the time if you want to be made better, if you got to be purged to be better at what you do. And it's so interesting. It's like anyone that's in the know on the knowledge of human anatomy and skeletons, it changes how you play the game. Like if you're seriously trying to take a video game seriously and like be the best at what you do, you got to realize, oh, the female skeletons, they're actually going to be more straight up and down. So you have to aim for the head a lot more because it'll be easier to do. And they won't have a hunchback, so when they move from side to side, their head won't swing back and forth. It'll actually stay pivoted at the same position.
Oh
so
my God.
There's so much little stuff you gotta know about human anatomy to be like taking it seriously at this game.
Yeah, you mentioned that the huge head hitboxes on the females in that video.
The huge head hitboxes.
That's so trippy.
Yeah, I can't believe I didn't notice it before too, because I always like automatically just based off like memorizing and like getting better, I'd always just aim for the females, and I never knew why. And now, looking back with all the knowledge I know now, it's like, no, their heads are literally bigger. You have to, it makes so much sense. And like even people, they'll even aim at the legs on like certain character models because it's better to do that.
Yeah, the wide legs of the marten. Yeah.
They'll be swinging back and forth, but you'll still be getting more overall shots in with the spread.
Yeah,
now ye are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine, no more can ye, except ye abide in me. I am the vine, ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit, for without me ye can do nothing. That's very interesting. I think that's the whole notion of John 3:16, that whoever believeth on him shall be saved, kind of idea. It's different than like the carte blanche salvation, where like as soon as you make a verbal agreement with the universe that Jesus is Christ, you get saved. It doesn't matter what you do with your life. It's the whole idea that whoever believeth on God can abide in him, and I in you as a branch cannot bear fruit of itself.
It's this sanctuary. It's this trust in your, I guess like you said, the vine, or the God as the tree, and you're a branch of it. You have to have faith in the main the Lord of hosts, that you're a good host and you're here to bear fruit. It gives you that sanctuary. It gives you that safety versus, I don't know, more of like an atheist. Nothing matters. I'm just doing what my own imagination says everywhere I go. Whatever I say, whatever my moral compass is the right moral compass, instead of taking in the greater good, and not thinking more of do as thou wilt mindset. It's a sanctuary. It's good to know that God protects us like that. and I think listening to you talk about it reminds me of being a child, and it's like it comes innately. It's like it's there innately, and they try to boil it out of you. And I think the whole child adulthood illusion that this Babylonian deception world has it's about that. It's about making you into a drone and making you feel less and making you feel like nothing matters, when it's God. It's the opposite. It's like you're a branch. You're really important. You're a really important part of this tree or this vine.
Yeah.
And yeah, you need to become like a child again in all the good ways, and
Yeah.
and showing interest in varied things, and finding like a rock just as interesting as a gemstone or a cell phone, and yeah, I think it's innate, and it's this amazing gift that we have, and I think we still retain that innocence because, I mean, stuff I think is cool talks about that, where if we were abused by children, that we would turn around and abuse regular humans. And I do think I did that a little bit, or I would just abuse back at Martin's and not think about the deeper consequences. But I think by and large, a lot of the bad stuff that I did growing up, I look back and it was peer pressure. It was because there was some sort of psyop going on. And I do take blame for a lot of things, of course, but I think acknowledging that you aren't, causing as much damage inevitably as being told that you are, and then yeah, like again, like the sanctuary with God, that's the only true judge. People really don't have a fair judgment on you. No one really can. And I think that's so critical to know that God is the ultimate judge, and you can make judgments on people if you don't do it yourself and you know it's bad, or you've gotten over it yourself and you've taken time to really understand it. I think you can have judgment, but even then, because you have fallen victim to it, something like addiction comes to mind. Then you can have you can't have too much judgment because you understand it. You can't be too critical because you've been addicted, or like Hans has talked about and I've talked about, and it is such a helpful thing to have that kind of discernment and judgment, where the closer you are with God, the more good you're doing, the better you're going to feel in judgment, the better you're going to feel when you go out. You're going to be more bold and have less nerves, because what's there to be afraid of if you're getting good sleep, you're doing good for people? There's nothing to be afraid of at all.
Yeah. Who would harm you if you're doers of good?
Right, exactly. I mean, and then you can see right through it and call it out. And like one of my favorite memories about waking up was my neighbor, who I always had creepy thoughts about, at the last apartment complex I was at. He, Shim, definitely had a baby. He came up to me and he's like, "Oh, I've just been hearing people talk about all this flat Earth stuff lately, and I don't know about that. I mean, how can they believe this?" And I'm like, I literally said blankly, like straightforward, it's in the Bible. It's a reasonable argument. It's a reasonable thought that people have. I didn't even go further. I just left it at that. And he turned around and was like, "Oh," and like he was so taken aback that I had even that response. It wasn't a strong response. It was just a very direct, "Hey, it's not that crazy." And just seeing the system like run away, or it can't handle it. It's amazing, but it gives you that strength, and you realize that it has been smoke and mirrors that have maybe been keeping you down or making us feel a certain way. I mean, COVID being the thing to wake people up, you talked about it before. That is a scary reality. I mean, that idea just brings in so many dark thoughts, post-apocalyptic stuff. But when you have this deeper connection to God, it is like smoke and mirrors. Like I'm protected. Whatever they do physically to me here, it's not that important. Like we can get beyond it. And I do not consent to vaccines. I do not consent to their phony baloney. What they want for us to do. So yeah, it's so helpful to have that deeper understanding that the only true judge, your deeper sanctuary is with God.
Yeah, that's a great point. So I'm gonna keep going. think I was here. I'm the vine. No. If a man abide not in me, is cast forth as a branch and is withered. And men gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. I think there's a lot of people that try to, like, outgood Christianity. Like, they think that they do something morally better, like something like veganism. They'll promote their own moral psychology as being superior than to ours.
Right.
But the Bible says straight up that it's as a branch and it's withered. It's interesting. It's just there's these people that try to be better than Christ, I think, but ultimately they're doing it so other people see them as that. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think yeah, that's an interesting one. I think there's a lot with that one where I think there's the vegans that they tout their message, they brag about it, they're kind of more militant about it, and I think those are the ones that are like, hey, look at me. And there's ones where it's like just their dietary preference and they there's reasons for it, but it's kind of like what stuff I think is cool said about flat earth, where like they don't need to go out and tell everybody how to live their life, and they're totally willing to listening to reasoning as to why people have all sorts of dietary preferences. It's just that's the one they chose. And yeah, I think you make a good point where it's like outdoing Christ like that. Yeah, that's so messed up and weird, and you really it's inconceivable, because who can heal people the way he did, and why are you trying to do that? I think if we can get anywhere near Christ, that's amazing. But it's more so, I think, like the spirit of it. It's not supposed to be this, I'm just doing these works because I want to look good. I'm doing these works because it's the right thing to do. Because I want to see this world look better. I want to see people being nicer to each other and having more village, like more communism. Not communism, but like, more communal, communism in the healthy, non-totalitarian iteration type of lifestyle, and feeling more comfortable and willing to express themselves. So yeah, like literally every time you go out into the world, you could be talking to anybody and it feels like you're talking to your sibling or someone you've known forever, because the world has become so just there's no lying, and everybody's on the same page, and we're all looking out for each other and for each other's families. And yeah, like the violence isn't so heavily pushed, and there's so much that can be done, and but not feeling like I have to be the one. It's my name that has to be on it. Like, I think we have these characters that kind of push this. Like, I think even when I was growing up, like now knowing they're all fake evil Satanists is more disturbing. But like Martin Luther King, I always thought it was super weird. It's like there's other guys that you're telling me, Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, that apparently were just as valid to this movement of civil rights, but we don't have holidays for them. Why do we have one person celebrated? Like, there's just certain things like that I think are like, they're kind of like subtle psyops, where it's this like this worship of a character, instead of stop with, just make it a open holiday. If you want to have like a civil rights holiday, call it that. Don't call it Martin Luther King Day. I don't know. There's certain things like that kind of bug me, and I think we have to bring up is like less personal. Glorification, self-aggrandizement, like the antithesis of the Donald Trump character. Like just touting yourself and patting yourself on the back, and always like going on Twitter trying to yell at people about stuff, and just like very egotistical, self-centered behavior. I think
virtue signaling.
Virtue signaling. I think so much of veganism, it's like Hans talked about it with the nature lovers, where they start brushing their teeth with sticks. They kind of like have this robotic response to an idea. I remember my mom back in the day being like, kale, 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 but it was because the kale was on like the TV guide. And I just like feel like it's the Truman Show. It's this weird virtue signaling And yeah, it's not because they're like genuinely like researching and wanting it to be better. It's because no, they want to like look good to you, and then that's it. Like it's just it's very self-absorbed.
Yeah. Even there's like witches that will kind of virtue signaling. Well, I'm a good witch. I don't know. I've hung around the wrong crowds for far too long.
Yeah,
I'm definitely one of them.
Yeah, that's kind of it is. It's messed up. I think you can be a healer. You don't have to be a witch.
If you abide in me and my words abide in you, you shall ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you. That's so interesting. It shall be done unto you, anything that you ask. Herein is my Father glorified, that you bear fruit, so shall you be my disciples. As the Father hath loved me, so have I loved you. Continue ye in my love. If you keep my commandments, ye shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. These things have I spoken unto you, that my joy might remain in you, that your joy might be full. This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I loved you. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Ye are my friends, if ye do whatsoever I command you. So that's talking about works again.
Yeah.
What is commanded us. Henceforth I call you not servants, for the servant knoweth not what his Lord doeth, but I have called you friends. For all things that I have heard of my Father, I have made known unto you. Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, and ordained you, that ye should go and bring forth much fruit, that your fruit shall remain, and whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it to you. These things I command you, that ye love one another. If the world hate you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you. If ye were of the world would love his own, but because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hateth you. Remember the word that I have said unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my sayings, they will also keep yours. But all these things will they do unto you for my name's sake, because they know not him that sent me. If I have not come and spoken unto them, they have not had sin, but now they have no cloak for their sin. He that hateth me hateth my Father also. If I had not done among them the works which none other man did, they had not had sin. And now have they both seen both me and my Father. But this cometh to pass, that the word might be fulfilled that is written in the law, they hated me without a cause. But when the Comforter is come, whom I will send unto you from the Father, even the Spirit of truth, which proceedeth out from the Father, ye shall testify of me. And ye shall also bear witness, because ye have been with me from the beginning. So going into the elements of the world, hating us before, hating Jesus before it hated us, it's so true. There is this visceral hatred. I mean, it's so obvious. Even before we were woken up, we were still chosen out of this world, and it hates us.
Yeah, I mean,
we gotta be okay with that.
We gotta be okay with that.
Plug in the wrong headphone. Are you still here?
Yeah, we're still here. I hear you clearly. Yeah, that's
plugged in the wrong headphone. Hello.
Yeah. You hear me? Yep. Hello.
Dang it! Oh, I was missing so much of that.
No, I got all you. All of yours recorded. All of yours was. I heard all of you in that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't hear it. That's weird.
That's odd. But yeah, you came through clearly. I think I'll be good.
Okay, good.
And then I don't know why I've like listened to this same John 15 a few times now, and it seems straightforward, and it is straightforward, that they have it all bared for them, and they have no cover for their sin, and it's all out there in the open, and we have stood out because I think it's like Jesus. Like I think I've went into so many situations thinking that I had to make like clever jokes and just felt awkward, and I didn't have anything. I didn't have any jokes, and I just went through without guile. Just didn't have any guile. Was just wanting to hang out and get to know people, and that kind of I bring that energy wherever I go, and it's like this world hates that energy. The energy is more of inside jokes and cliques and like weird stuff like that. And
also I'd say like judging what other people are doing, trying to get them, like caring about them actually loving someone enough to love their soul instead of just being a yes man for whatever they want. That's what people really hate.
They hate it.
That's what Jesus came and did.
It's big, and it's interesting because you'll hear somebody talking, you'll have somebody that you're with for a while, and you'll hear them talking about the same problem, and you'll offer them sound advice, and it is weird because there is a lot of pushback often, because they'll be like, well, you haven't lived my life, and I'm like, well, I know I haven't lived your life, and I can't quite equate to exactly what you're saying, but I have based on what you've been telling me, I have these ideas and these thoughts and these ways of thinking about things and changing your lifestyle and things that you can do. And it's so interesting where like it's always the same kinds of answers. Like you're genuinely working with them. There's all these different options. And how people respond. Some people respond very well. They really appreciate you taking the time to listen to them and hearing them out. Other people, it's like they're so narcissistic or what, I don't know. But it's like you're basically it's like you're picking their scab or something. Like they feel like they're being insulted when all you're doing is, hey, you're doing this over and over again. Perhaps you could try something different. It usually is that.
It's important. It's important to approach that in the right way that you'd appreciate to be approached in, which is usually just a one-on-one.
Yeah, it's usually a one-on-one.
Showing the flaws.
Yeah, it's usually a one-on-one, or like you have people around you that that they trust. And yeah, it's interesting too. Like the servant's not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my saying, they will keep yours also. Where it's like we can add to the book of life. Jesus was here for a time, and there's things that I think that God's telling us that may not be clear cut in the Bible. Maybe they're hidden in there and like they are clear cut, but maybe like it's hard for us to parse out. But we're gonna come to them and then have new ways of saying them, and that will be beneficial to people. And our word will be preserved, because if it doesn't matter that it's our word or not, it's just the idea of not having guile and making the world feel like a safer place, and not feeling like you have to have all these inside jokes at the ready to fit in with the group. And
when you just present something so clear cut, it's just so obvious. People want to repeat it. It's like the tide is caused by the wind. There's no correlation with the position of the sun and the moon with high tide and low tide. It's just something that it sticks in people because it's something we are taught the exact opposite of.
Yeah. You have that cognitive dissonance where like you were taught it, and you had this exam and you had to write it down, or you had people asking you and you had to bring it up a lot, and you just gave this regurgitated, I read it in a textbook response, and then you didn't really think about it. I know I didn't for a lot of this stuff, and then I just put it away, and then it never got brought up again. And then I come back and I'm like, that never made any sense. Had I taken any actual time with it, or had we there were times, like Hans had said, I can't remember exactly, but I definitely would question stuff in class and like question the logic of it, and I just didn't pursue them further because you'd get a disgruntled look, or you just be like, go along with the program. And it is so helpful to know that we can abide in God's love and God's truth. It's like, no matter how this world can look, it's kind of just like you shrug your shoulders and realize that it's ephemeral. Someone who's giving you like an ugly face, it's not going to have the same weight as it used to, because before you were like, oh, I did something wrong, like I'm causing all these ugly faces and these people to turn away from me and ignore me. And now it's just, no, it's because you're shining so much light, you're bringing so much, you're just being truthful and open, and people don't like that because it's like antithetical to how the world works. And it's just, there's so much with like spies and secret agents and guns and law and order, and all of it, so much of it is just theater to scare you. And just so many so many ways people keep their privacy and behave are so just backwards. And yeah, I think that if we're entering the room and we have these things that we're saying, we're going to draw so much hate because it's just part of it. It sucks. I don't know why it's so weird to think about things like reincarnation. Like I don't think I believe in it. I think we're in the original, but it's like the idea of it being that like our soul has more stuff to work on, and we've gone through this before and we're still going through it. I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't really know what happened.
I think this next chapter has something about that.
It's so
interestingly enough.
It's so yeah. We'll dig into it. But it's like Hans talked about that too. Like, you know, you don't know. Like in that 2017 video where we put in a quarter in a machine and we got brought in to like live a human life, like try it out. You have to go through and it's a test, and you have to give everything you got and live for God and recognize that like there's all these fake things in front of you and they don't yield anything and they're pointless, and so many lifestyles are going to be shown to you that are just completely counterintuitive, and you're going to leave you're going to leave scratching your head, and that's okay. You don't have to go along with it. And I think, you know, it's so good to have to know that you can abide in God's love. You don't have to, you know, seek after these bands and look cool, that just because like there's so many things that I just realized like I've only been interested in because someone pushed it on me or was like, this is the cool thing, you better like it. And it's so helpful when you just are okay with who you are and you accept that, oh, I don't have to watch sports ball, I don't have to be accepted. I don't, and I can be who I am, and if people accept me, that's great. If they don't, that's fine, because I know I'm not doing evil things or mean things, or, you know, I'm not committing terrible acts, and I'm looking to help people, and always coming with a perspective on things that's new and just different, and not trying to be stagnant in this truth, and always finding new things out. It's pretty crazy because it is like it's a complete flip. I think that we talked about it before, the flip in the mentalities of the watchers and the people like us, the peasants, the muggles, whatever. And it is amazing where it's like the blanket of money and the blanket of all the like worldly success is just nothing compared to God's love. I mean, the truth. It's like it pales in comparison. It's the real gift.
Absolutely. I was thinking just now, it's like each birthday used to matter so much more growing up, but I think the more you're in truth, the more the years fly by, the better it is. It's like I'm getting closer to death. This is great. I'm ready for this next world.
Yeah, it's such a good point, because all the while you're making good works, you're having good interactions, as you get older and more confident in yourself and in Jesus and in the one true God. And yeah, it's going to make everything go by faster because you're having more fun. You're being a better person. I mean, you're less held back by things that just are obvious pitfalls. I remember when I was at last year, I was at the same place with that guy I referenced earlier, the gardener. He came into work and was going crazy about the Will Smith slap at the Oscars, and it's not like I think it's a nothing thing, but I just remember like years back I would want something like that. I would probably like want to bring up or like remember to talk about, and I remember just the instantaneous I don't give a flying, like I just means nothing. This is a fake slap. Everything about this is just phony. It was such a good feeling because it's like you're abiding in God instead of this world and what it's presenting you, because what it's presenting you is almost always counterfeit, and or just flat out faked, phony. And it's amazing. It's amazing people. I don't even know if you could call them that, do this for a living, but yeah, they are opposite to us in every way. They're not working hard. They're putting on a show, and everything's a joke, and they have egos through the roof. They've got all these characters they have to maintain, and it's just everything's the opposite. Like they're trying to be all these people, all these fake people, when we're just trying to.
And who even knows which one they're playing?
Who even knows which one they're playing? And we're trying to figure out who we are and what our superpowers are. And I know we're going to get into John 16, but kind of on the superpower front, something I was thinking about. We talked about telepathy before. So this telepathy theory of people with knowledge, obviously they're spiritually blinded, but physically superpowered mutant since they don't have to work for a living. So the whole idea of telepathy, I don't know if this matters or not, but I like to think telepathy is something of God, and that their telepathy is like really screwed up. They don't have good telepathy. But if you're somebody who is, in this club, don't have to work for a living, you could spend more time digging into this and then seeing how effective you could be at telepathy, I feel, than somebody who has to be in Babylon. And verses that I want to get into
That's
too.
an interesting theory.
Yeah, verses I want to get into too regarding this are like,
because Christ was very telepathic.
he was very telepathic.
Yeah,
Telepathic, and to kind of get into this whole thing, like, I have a couple of verses from Jeremiah 38, 2. Thus saith the Lord, he that remaineth in this city shall die by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence. But he that goeth forth to the Chaldeans shall live, for he shall have his life for prey, and shall live. Like, it's important to put yourself out there as prey. We're continually called lambs. And it goes on, thus saith the Lord, this city shall surely be given unto the hand of the king of Babylon. We're supposed to give ourselves to the king of Babylon. And then in Babylon, God gives us this path. And it's like it's almost, it seems like ironic. Like, why would he put us in this danger? Like, we know Babylon is scary and fake and ridiculous. But why would God? Because God's like, no, it's okay. You'll be fine. I'm going to show you the way. If you have faith in me, then that's all you need. You don't need to worry about all this chaos going on around you. And I think, like, God's saying that you need to go. Like, I was just reading through all of this today in Jeremiah, and then it continued a little bit into Ezekiel too, of God saying that we need to go through Babylon. It's just so reassuring, because for me, like, up until not having read at this point, I'm just still like hung up, confused, just like, why this seems so stupid. This is like purgatory. Why is this so annoying? And then it's just, it becomes clear the more you read that you need to be this fruit tree. You need to change Babylon for the better. You like, Babylon's here as it is. It's got some shit. It's got a lot of shit. It's got some good aspects to it, and we're here to reassure the good aspects, refine them, and then bring in whole new ideas that shift it so Babylon ends and there is no more king. And it's just, it's crazy that it's like ordained. Like, God is like, no, you must like bow to the king and like go along with, like, not go along with Babylon, but like live in there and be under the king.
I love that you brought up like the Old Testament as something relevant. So many times in church, you just go through the Old Testament and they're like, well, that doesn't matter anymore. We're not under that anymore. We're under Paul's belief and whatever the New Testament Christian stuff is that we don't disagree with. It's everything that's in the Bible matters.
Yeah.
It's not this part of the book that we should be ignoring at all.
Right. It still has a lot of good truths in it, and I think kind of what we were hitting at earlier, where like you might have a big section, but you have other books earlier on hinting at aspects of that section that are key. Like you need to read, like, for instance, like Isaiah and Daniel to get a great idea about Revelation or have a better understanding of it.
Right.
It's
yeah, the 4 horsemen, you gotta understand Zechariah 8 in order to go into that too.
Yeah, and and it is this like it is this whole cumulative understanding, and the more you read, it seems the more you're able to put pieces together and refine those points and make it make more sense. Like, I still believe what you said about the fruit of good and evil kind of being oral, like not be I mean being oral or a big aspect of it.
Yeah.
I would tell you, I'm not even gonna like hold back. Like, with my partner, we haven't done it since, but I've had trouble. Like, I have had trouble not doing it. It's so ingrained in the experience of sex where I'm just like, oh, like we can totally do it. And I still I've held back since you've said, since I saw your original take on it, and then we talked about it, because it just rings true. It makes sense. I mean,
it was previously called sodomy. It seems just wrong.
it just seems wrong.
Compared to the other stuff. I don't know. I'm proud of you for doing that. I hope it's right. I gotta say, it's like, it's hard to get everything right in Babylon, and I don't know if I'm really doing that. I appreciate you putting a lot of faith in me for that, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's like one of those things where, yeah, you have to sit with it for a while and think about it and think about all the aspects of it. And I think if I'm to make like a Venn diagram and put it all out there, I think there's way more wrong with it that seems off than what makes sense morally and just anatomically. And even if it is the depth of the fluids and within their waist make pregnancy worse. And I mean, it's pretty
Right?
pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. It's just, you're right. It's the Venn diagram. There seems to be more of a con for consuming the opposite gender consuming fluids from the other sex. Just doesn't seem to be the way to do it.
No, it doesn't, and I think it's heavily pushed, and there's so much imagery around it, and I think you've got to look at what Babylon's doing and look kind of the opposite way. I think like they really cheapen sex. They want you to like kill babies. I mean, it's all Satan stuff. It's all like anti-family, anti-connection, more of this like speculative. Oh, we all follow the media, and the media is this empty husk. Like, there's nothing there. It's just dead. It's like it's all fake, and it's their little Hogwarts trick. But once you pull out of it, then it's just empty and nothing, and you don't waste your life thinking about it or worrying about it. And I think, yeah, with the oral sex thing, it's like they can control the bedroom. It's like they put out movies where like it's such a common thing, and books, and it's like it's such a common thing to just have oral sex. Like third base, I think is considered oral sex. It's just such a common thing that people start doing it, and then unconsciously they might know it's wrong, or subconsciously they might know it's wrong, but then they're doing it because, oh, it's gonna better my relationship, or it's just, it's part of it. Like, this is what we do.
Yeah.
And taking a step back and saying, I don't really think of this as great, and having a partner that really wasn't all that into it to begin with, from either end. Like, she didn't want to receive it, nor did she want to give it. It's helpful.
Well, also, I think like, if you're being the first humans and you get kicked out of the garden for doing this act, you can't really tell your children it was just that. Like, that's very like, they probably still felt shame about it doing afterwards, and having God not allowing them to be in the garden anymore. Like, they probably had to tell it as an allegory to pass it on to their children, like what it was.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think like we've looked into it, and there are many phrases that the last podcast we talked about, I think it was in Proverbs, one pretty direct one, about the woman who like
that one's crazy.
I thought that was crazy. Yeah, she brushed off her lips and made it say, well, I didn't do anything. I did no wrong, and I think that was indicative of it, and also me discussing how I've had experiences where it just seemed like there was no like deeper emotional connection, and she just like dove for my pants, and it was like purely for essence, and just that whole idea where like this deeper knowledge comes into play, and people are like witches, and they're just trying to like play with essences. And I mean, what comes to mind right now is like The Big Lebowski. I don't know if have you seen that movie?
No, I have not. I've heard of it though.
So there's a scene in that movie where The Big Lebowski, he's this character, he's this dude character who like is living off of barely any money, doesn't have a job, bowls around, and there's this artistic Swire character who, you know, they're trying to sell, like wants to get pregnant with him, but it's just for his seed. And just the whole scene is very like, I don't care about
Just
you.
for what? Just for his money?
No, just for the baby, just to have a baby. Like she doesn't have a partner. She just wants to use him for his baby. There's no deeper relationship. They do it one time. It's like, it's so gross because he's basically just ambling around, and he's just like, oh, okay, I'll have sex with you, and then just that's it. And then there's no deeper relationship. It's just purely for her to potentially have a baby, and she shakes and is trying to have a baby, and it's like, it's completely wrong. It's supposed to be these people that are passionately in love with each other, and it's this gift that we come together and we happen. I think there's a lot of stuff. I think it's spiritual. I think like while you're in the middle of having sex with a woman, like there has to be this like deeper, like this child's like forming in your brain, like you both want it. I mean, I guess it can happen it can happen other ways, but I feel like there is a deeper spiritual element where like if you do want it, there's a greater chance of it happening. And I think, you know, pointing out like a film like that, or pointing out that situation it's just such a good thing to wake up from, where in the past I'd be like, oh, like look at this guy, he's like getting high and getting laid and whatever. It's now like, oh, that's so spiritually gross, and he like she's just using him for like basically as like a surrogate, like seed. He's just the seed for this. This is disgusting. Not a surrogate, but you know what I mean. She's just using him purely for his seed, his essence. It's not anything deeper than that. And it's like that's what they want relationships to look like. It's all backwards and gross, and I think that like pulling out of that and not feeling like we need to be on this like quest to, I don't know, impregnate as many people as possible. It's just, I don't know, like panspermia, that idea. I get it, but I also am like, it makes so much more sense to have the strong family bond and then build the village around it, and with others, you know, and
you were saying last podcast that it's like you've got a seed and you've got to maintain it, you've got to water it, you know.
Yeah, you've got to take care of it, and like that's the whole thing. Like, think about yourself. If you're drinking, you know, you're drinking like unhealthy sodas and eating shit and smoking, and I mean, yeah, like people talk all the time about the women and how the woman shouldn't drink alcohol while she's pregnant, but like if the man is doing all sorts of crap while he's having, it's the same thing. The sperm is going to be contaminated.
Exactly.
So
that's research. That's science.
Yeah, that's science. I mean, they don't talk about that as much, which is weird and very stilted. We have this kind of like false patriarchy going on, but yeah, it's such an integral part that you are nursing a seed, and it's important, and you can't just think of these things as like a little aesthetic backdrops like so many people do. I mean, the common thing in television is like the dad's not even around, and the family's often wealthy and they don't even care about their children. They're just like there to like as stand-ins, and it's sick because it does play out in real life a lot. And we have to be the opposite of that and take like complete treasure in our families and our children, and I think it's really easy to do that when you know there's so much spiritual sickness, and what you're doing is being a beacon when you are taking deeper consideration of your family and your loved ones.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna try to rush out this last chapter real quick.
Oh, John 16?
Yeah, John 16.
Okay.
All right. These things have I spoken unto you, that ye should not be offended. They shall put you out of the synagogues. Yea, the time cometh that whosoever kills you will think that he doeth God's service. That sounds like a reference to Paul, how he thought he was doing God's service for killing a bunch of Christians. And these things will they do unto you, because they have not known the Father nor me. But these things have I told you, that when the time shall come, ye may remember that I told you of them. And these things I said unto you at the beginning, because I was with you. But now I go my way to him that sent me, and none of you asketh me, Whither goest thou? But because I have said these things unto you, sorrow hath filled your heart. Nevertheless, I tell you the truth, it is expedient for you that I go away, and if I go not away, the Comforter will not come unto you. But if I depart, I will send him unto you. So people talk about the purpose of the cross. I think this is one of them right there, is probably the main one too. The reason he has to go away is because the Comforter will not come unto you. So, I mean, that's a good one to write down, because common popular culture Christianity, and it's probably good. I don't think you delve into that stuff that much. You just look for things yourself, right?
What do you mean?
Like, you don't look up like some pastor. You don't have like your favorite pastor that you go into. You don't get contaminated with popular Christianity.
Oh no, I don't. I'm really not at all.
Yeah, that's very good. Okay, so a large part of the popular Christianity, they say it's this sacrifice, which it may have some element of that, but Jesus is saying right there that he goes away so that we can get the Holy Ghost coming unto us. He doesn't talk over and over and over, if I die, I will be a sacrifice for you all to get to heaven. That's just what popular Christianity says.
What's trippy about that too, because it's the form thing we're talking about earlier, where like Jesus being withheld in a body, he's not going to be as capable in a body than if he's in the Holy Ghost form.
Right.
Because the Holy Ghost is like, that's something that can be, it can go through anything. It's way more fluid in how it can maneuver around the world and protect us and whatnot. So yeah, if he were to not go away, then we would be, there's Jesus somewhere out there, but right now when I need him, I don't have him because he's physically present. He can't be physically. Right. That's so crazy to think. That's crazy. But that makes. I like that thought. That makes a lot of sense. That the Holy Ghost can only come if he's to go away, because he can't maintain those two forms.
Exactly. I think that's just right. Okay. And when he is come, he will reprove the world of sin and of righteousness and of judgment. Of sin, because they believe not on me. Of righteousness, because I go to my Father and you see me no more. Of judgment, because the prince of this world is judged. Satan. Okay. Yeah. I have yet many things to say to you, but you cannot bear them now. So that's so interesting. So many things that he has to say, but he can't. But we can't bear them now. I think God. Now we're at a point, like, because he's gone and everything. Stuff like this whole like transpocalypse thing. I feel like that's a big part about it.
It's gotta be. And then like I think that the animal stuff. I mean, like, we know about dogs, but I think it's deeper. I don't know how deep it is. We haven't gone into it really this podcast, but the vivisection, all the breeding programs with people, with animals. I mean, yeah, the transvestigation goes into the breeding.
That one's pretty huge. I've been looking at what is it? Sea lions? Not the same now.
Sea lions, yeah. Okay, because we were talking about before how the thalidomide affecting these mammals, and then them going on generation after generation and eventually becoming the sea mammals we see. But how does the blowhole develop? That gives me pause with the whales, the dolphins, and so forth, the porpoises. I don't know so much about that. But the sea lions / elephant seal / walrus, if that's real or not, like that makes more sense. That makes a lot more sense.
Okay.
Like if you have this big bear or dog or some sort of animal that's just been bred with thalidomide and being large in a lot of those cases.
What is thalidomide exactly?
I mean, it's this chemical that was used in that video she referenced, the Mayor Warehouse video. It was used as a opiate, as part of an opiate, but what the side effects were that it significantly decreased the limbs of the babies that the mothers had. So their limbs became like almost half the size, and they didn't have fingers or appendages, so they basically were like fins. They became like fish babies. And yeah, so like, you know, you take that knowledge and then you just apply that. Oh, they have this chemical that like turns regular functioning, like, you know, hands and feet into more like fin-like appendages. You know, they could really go crazy with that. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure there's other things at play, but yeah, it just makes you wonder. You want to. It's like you want to take the lens to a lot of these species and be like, you know, like some of them they just kind of stand out, like the giraffe being maybe like an okapi bred, like it's just a it's a well-bred animal of some sort, and
that one I was gonna say I'm definitely on the train for that, but the other ones I really don't know yet.
Yeah, the pig being the more human, I don't know. It's weird to me. It's just like it's one that it makes sense if it is, but I'm not sold on it yet.
Okay.
I want to research it more. I want to have like more people talking about it, see if we can come to ideas or if there's weird stories and stuff that like yields some truth. Like nothing will be hid, so I do think this is important to know. And yeah, the whole.
I always love hearing something new too.
That's like, true, because it's like it is easy to get caught up in circles, and like I don't know, like I love a lot like Hans's content, and he's been coming out with some new stuff. But there's times he'll retread his own stuff, and I'm just like, oh, like I as much as I love this, I've heard it before, and myself included. Like I did that video just recently on the celebrities, and it's like I even said before, like here's some candy coated crap. Like we're gonna get through this, like. Because I know I don't want to sit in that. I don't want to sit in like celebrity analysis because I just know it's not. It's more of just like, okay, if you're really like, you know, not paying attention to anything, here is some clear indicators that these people aren't either the same people or they're very closely related and there's some weird eugenics stuff going on. And I think it's helpful, but you just don't want to sit there. You gotta like. There's other areas of truth. There's other things that are important. Like I think a big one. I just don't know how to handle it. I don't know how to like what to do about it. Like the whole like if we can limit pedophilia any way possible. If we can limit these like pedophilia rings. I mean the whole like knowing about pizza being 33 and pizza joints maybe being cover joints for this or like places where they do deals and sex traffic. That's helpful. But like how do I physically change that? How do we go in there and like get these places removed or like get footage on them? And it's a very complex procedure, but it's like the next level of truthing where like we were talking about earlier with veganism. The vegan activists they'll go to slaughterhouses and save animals and get arrested. You know, like with this stuff, I mean. I feel like it's so much. It's even deeper, and it's just you know the Truman Show aspect of it. Like we shouldn't like the Truman Show aspect of it's kind of annoying, but it shouldn't hinder anything we're doing. It's like yeah, Raj may be listening in, but I still want to go and you know be on the lines and like if I can save a child, I want to do that. I don't want to like hide away from that opportunity. It gets crazy. Like I don't want to just sit in my house and make truth videos, you know. Like it's just weird. Like what is and like you know like you talked about it before. I think going in church groups is big, having these small groups is big, but if there's a way we can somehow like break up cabal activity, like it's just like that gets me really excited. It's scary, but it's also like you're saving a life. Like some foster child that's being sex trafficked could potentially be saved. I just don't.
Right.
It's crazy. Like I don't know at this point enough that I can like go at that with real conviction and really like make a big. I just don't know how to do it. Like how do we do that? How do we?
It'd be great if we could do something, but it seems like the police are behind it.
Yes.
They
Yes,
support
like
it, and there's nothing we could do.
there's nothing we could do. It's like it's systemically set. They've made it this way. It sucks. I mean, you can tell people probably to like be very careful at Target or Walmart, and maybe don't shop as much at those places if you can. And then, I mean, I think of places like Chuck E. Cheese that just seems like an obvious place not to go. There's like certain areas I would recommend you don't go to, but it gets pretty difficult to really get in there and like actually save lives and catch a sexual deviant predator in the act. So much of Lolita is just showing you how a normal person with like they look, everything about them looks fine on the outside, is inside this ravening like pervert. And it's an evil story, but it's also helpful because it shows you that it's not just the cover. You got to look at the whole character, and you got to spend time with them, and then maybe there are people in our lives that are doing all this evil stuff, and we can expose it, and we can end it. Maybe like they can be apprehended, or they can be taught to not do it anymore. I mean, I don't. It gets crazy.
Right. Yeah, that's a dark thought. There's so many thoughts that are just so dark that it's hard to even approach them sometimes. But when the darkness is truly there, you gotta do your best. That's why explaining these truths is so important. It's just a stepping stone for showing what kind of evil is out there. And that's why the world hates us, is because we judge the world.
Yeah.
Judgment, because the prince of this world is judged. He
has to be.
And Satan is really the sexual deviant that just wants sick things like this to happen. So
he's a creep.
Stop.
He's a creep, and he sold this whole mentality. I mean, when you realize that all the sports are fake, all these actors and stuff are fake, it makes sense that like all of them, they don't have consistent relationships. It's all this like cheating, or like they're all complicated. Like so many relationships are like that they show, because it's all characters. It's all made to confuse you and break up and make your relationship worse. Because if you're putting any salt, any weight into those things that you're reading about or seeing on TV or on radio and all that, then you're gonna superimpose your own life and your own relationships on that, and then start doing that. You're gonna start acting worse because you're trying to like imitate these idols or whatever. And I thinking back, I mean, probably never directly would I ever imitate. I don't think like a celebrity and like how their moves, but I'm sure like I know like so much of my life, my younger life, high school, I could tell like things were almost like a movie. And like I was just kind of, there were so many situations where I was just kind of like acting out the part, like, and it was just, it's a weird trance, and it's like, I remember I had a situation I bring up with people all the time about being in college, and my freshman year roommate meeting up with me my junior year, and we were at this party, and there was another roommate that was there, another dorm mate that was there, and both of them like whispered to me loudly about how much pussy they're gonna get and how I'm not gonna get any, and I'm just like okay, like I did not know how to. I was like, all right, but I maybe you guys can pick one, or you just like this silly mentality of this world that's perpetuated of just like filth and like one-upping and being, I guess like apex sexual person it's so weird, and it just seems backwards now. Like I remember watching this video.
It's gay too.
It's gay too. There's I just bringing that up. David Bowie. I used to like, I wouldn't say I worshipped him or anything like that, but I used to like listen to some of his music and stuff. And I remember him saying on an interview that he met his wife while they were having sex with the same dude. And I remember thinking like, oh, it's that rock and roll lifestyle, and it's just so wild. And can you imagine if you were that free and just having sex with everybody? And now I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's so disgusting. Like,
Yeah.
it's so perverted. It's like, it's weird, and it's like, throwing your spirit around like that. It just can't be healthy, and they probably don't sleep very well, and that's why they have to take all these drugs, and they look like the messes that they do, and it's just, yeah, a complete reversal, like the opposite of what this world pushes, which is, if you're a man, yeah, like have sex a lot, and make sure you have lots of sex before you get married, because it's over. It's like such a terrible message. Instead of no, like, you go find a partner that values you completely for who you are, and is willing to work on the dark aspects, the bad things that you do, and vice versa. You guys have a good reciprocal relationship. Like that you don't see that. I never see that. I've never seen that once in any media, anything. And that's what's missing.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just so much more pure. It's so much more godly. It's less of this constant competition.
Like, oh, I gotta find a new,
to be the apex, like you're saying.
yeah, like the pickup game, and like it's a game. Like, it's not a game. The love is not a game. Like, it's not. It shouldn't
like,
be.
how many people are you stomping on and treading upon just to feel like you can sleep at night?
Right. I have this terrible story. Back when I was in college as well, and I was about 20 years old, and there was this girl at the grocery store I worked at, and she kept taking interest in me. All the guys were like, oh, she likes you, blah, blah, blah. She always goes up to you and talks to you I was working at the meat counter, she was at the front end. And after a while, there was one night where she was leaving, and I would always bike home. But that night I had to my bike was like out of commission, and I wanted to take the bus, so I was waiting at the bus stop, and she comes by. She's like, "Hey, I'm having a party in my house," and my first evil thought was, I know if I go for her at all, I can have an easy lay. I will easily have sex with her by the end of the night, because she's shown so much interest. And from a pure, like, physical, visceral, just I get what I want kind of mentality, I knew that was possible, and that was part of the mindset that went into me even going. And then, sure enough, later on we did it, and we ended up having a little relationship, but it was very much built in that. It was just like physical, and we were using each other, and it was gross. But it's like the thought process completely changed, and as I got older, and it was just like it was so obvious. I was having all these like trials of relationships with girls, whether they were swire or not, where I could pinpoint where they all went wrong. Usually there was no deeper emotional connection from the outset, and it was purely physical. And as I got older, I started to, innately, I didn't value sex anymore. I just stopped valuing it, because all that mattered was the deeper conversation and feeling like this person actually wanted to be with you, and it wasn't just an exercise or, a status. Oh, we're together. It's a status, and we sort of get along, but if you really look at things closely, we don't get along. Like, once you get,
this is really profound.
Yeah, like, once you get out of that, and you're like, all I value at the end of the day is someone that I can sleep next to and talk to and feel comfortable, and like, whether we have sex or not, it's not a big deal. Like, I want to have sex, so it's great, it's a great bonus, but I also don't want to force it. Forced sex is terrible. I mean, I've had forced sex a lot in my life, and it's never fun. Sex, when you both come to it and it's mutual and you're excited, that's it. But when one kind of like goes along with it but doesn't really want to, it's just it's just not, it's pointless, and it's like kind of like a pseudo rape thing.
Right.
And yeah, I think I'm just getting so much better all the time with that, and knowing when like the right time is, and knowing what's really important in our relationship, and keeping each other honest. And it's just it's like, it's amazing how rare it is, and how few people are out there that really want to have that kind of relationship. And I think that's why it cuts we cut through it, because it's so clear that both of us want that, and that's all that matters. And we're just so tired of all the fake stuff and baloney that we just roll our eyes, and like you said, you click your tongue, and like you but it's so good, because it's just like, okay, we've heard this before, I get it, I know we know where you're going with this. Or I'll bring up the masks as soon as they go into government stuff. It's just these clear, like, these are completely valid thoughts, valid ideas, and they may make you uncomfortable because they're the truth and they're bothering you, but we're gonna say them anyways, because we know it's only gonna make things better. It's just, it clears the air, it gets the crap out, and
yeah,
and then it allows you to better see who actually cares about you and wants to have these deeper conversations, and wants to hang out with you, and likes the way you smell, and likes all the, you're gonna have weird quirks, you're gonna be you're a person, you're gonna have strange things, but they're not gonna harp on them, they're not gonna, like, they love you for who you are, and they even think that your weird quirks are kind of cute, or it's just helpful. It's helpful to know that exists, and it's not like, oh, I've just gotta impregnate this person, and I don't want to be gay, and like, a lot of what Hans talks about is like not having any interest in the strats growing up, and feeling like he had to like force some like sort of like crush or like sexual tension just because he would be perceived as gay if he didn't show any interest. And
yeah,
it's like, yeah, when you actually find that he found a real woman, thank God, and I found one, and it's just amazing. It's like it is like night and day, where they keep you honest, and they're funny, and they're clever, but they're clever in a different way than a Swire is. And not saying anything against Swire, it's just, in my experience, I've had cold relationships with Swires that weren't genuine.
Yeah.
And it is like night and day. It's such a relief to have this blessing within this crazy world where we're hated. And yeah, it's so much to look forward to with you finding somebody, and with Strange Realm finding somebody, and like all these people that can see clearly, that have great hearts and great minds, and deserve love, and helping people realize their true dreams of deeper connectivity, and comfort, and better sleep, and just all these great gifts that come when you show a little bit of courage, and are willing to share the truth, and you're not afraid of looking stupid. It's really amazing.
Yeah. No, I appreciate everything you were saying there. It's Jesus' way is the simplest way. It's my burden is my yoke is easy, and my yoke is light. It's really it's less complicated when you don't try to compensate for a vacuumous ego, a black hole ego.
A black hole ego.
That just constantly needs more and more things to be satisfied.
The fake it till you make it. You continue on with these lies just to build yourself up, when you could just tell the truth and be fine and sleep better.
Yeah. And for your partner, you'll be even better when you're not black hole ego Andy. And that's what it's all about. I'm going to keep going with the Bible verse if that's okay.
Yeah.
We're almost through it. We've been really going through it pretty well. And I think we've been adding some pretty good explanations for it too.
Yeah.
I'm going to repeat the last verse. Howbeit, the Spirit of truth is the Spirit of truth, howbeit, when the Spirit of truth is come, he will guide you into all truth, for he shall not speak of himself, but whatsoever he shall hear, that shall he speak, and he will show you things to come. He shall glorify me, for he shall receive of mine, and shall show it unto you. All things that the Father hath are mine, therefore said I, that he shall take of mine, and shall show it unto you. A little while, and ye shall not see me, and again a little while, and ye shall see me, because I go unto the Father. And some of the disciples among them, what is this that he saith unto us? A little while, and ye shall not see me, and again a little while, and ye shall see me, because I go to the Father. They said, therefore, what is this that he saith, a little while? We cannot tell what he saith. Now, Jesus, when he knew that they were desirous to ask him, so that's interesting. That seems like something telepathic there. Now, Jesus knew that they were desirous to ask him, and said unto them, do ye inquire among yourselves of that I said, a little while, and ye shall not see me, and again a little while, and ye shall see me? Verily, verily, I say unto you, that ye shall weep then, but the world shall rejoice, and ye shall be sorrowful. So that's amazing that when Jesus died, the world rejoiced, and ye shall be sorrowful, but your sorrow shall be turned into joy. A woman, when she is in travail, hath sorrow, because her hour is come. But as soon as she is delivered of the child, she remembereth no more the anguish for joy that a man is born into the world. And ye now, therefore, have sorrow, but I will see you again, and your heart shall rejoice, and your joy no man taketh from you. And in that day ye shall ask me nothing. Verily, verily, I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall ask the Father in my name, he will give unto you. Hitherto have you asked nothing in my name. Ask, and ye shall receive, that your joy may be full. These things have I spoken unto you in Proverbs, but the time cometh when I shall speak no more unto you in Proverbs, but I shall show you plainly of the Father. At that day ye shall ask in my name, and I say not unto you that I will pray the Father for you, for the Father himself loveth you, because ye have loved me, and have believed that I came out from God. I came forth from the Father, and am come into the world again. I leave the world and go to the Father. His disciples said unto him, Lo, now speakest thou plainly, and speakest no proverb. Now are we sure that thou knowest all things, and needest not that any man should ask thee? By this we believe that thou camest forth from God. Jesus answered, do ye not believe? Behold, the hour cometh, yea, and is now come, and ye shall be scattered, every man to his own, and shall leave me alone. And yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. These things I have spoken unto you, that ye might have peace in the world. That ye have, in the world ye have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world.
Yeah, I love it. So what's interesting is I think a lot of the world makes it seem like we're waiting on pins and needles for Jesus, where it's like 28 right there. I came forth from the Father and am come into the world. Again, I leave the world and go to the Father. Just that right there, it's again like that, like fear not on the morrow. It's this such a calming, just like he can be present here and go away. He can, it doesn't have to be like, oh no, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for Jesus. I'm so scared. It's like, no, it's okay. He's at the right hand of God, and it's like him changing forms like that isn't such a big deal. And him saying too, he's overcome the world. Be of good cheer, because you've seen what I've gone through, so you're going to go through similar things, but I've gone through the worst. So keep your head up, because it's not going to be that bad. I've heard many people say, and maybe this is just another like freak out, fake thing, but I'm so thankful that I lived beyond the age of 33, because like if you're superimposing, because if you're superimposing your life on like Jesus, then I'm gonna get like crucified at 33 or something crazy is gonna happen, by that point, if I'm like a prophet or something. But it's like, yeah, I think if we're out here speaking this truth, inevitably we're some sort of, helpful speakers. Like Hans called himself the hireling at the 11th hour kind of thing. Like we're something like that, but it's also like we have unique tribulation, but it's similar in character to what Jesus had experienced. So it's not confusing. It's not crazy. It makes sense. It's like, oh yeah, well, he endured a way harsher, more difficult tribulation, and we're experiencing a version of that, and we've got a lot to do. But it does seem like everything's in front of us, and we can be of good cheer. Like there's so much to be excited about and thankful for, and it's like Jesus on the ship. There's just nothing to really fret about.
Right. Yeah, I've been obsessed about this anime that kind of personifies that pretty well. It's just, have you heard of One Punch Man before?
Yeah, I've heard of One Punch Man.
It's kind of like that, where it's just like every obstacle is just easy, because it's just all you have to do is have faith, and as soon as you got that faith, you're set. It's so easy, and every task gets overcome just by the help of the Father.
It is. It's so easy. And when you're not comparing yourself to Babylon stuff, like let's say you're an artist or you're a writer or you're a lawyer or you're whatever your discipline is, there's going to be somebody in Babylon that like has a lot of accolades and is held up or revered in your field or whatever it is. And it's like you can't compare yourself to them at all, like zero. And it's purely the medium. You're working in the medium, and I think when you have that like God, that connection with God, then it's all unique, it's all interesting, it's all innovation, it's all every day is new and refreshing. It's pulling out of that. Oh, the idol worship. Oh, I can never compare to that musician. I can never compare to that thinker. I've never. It's like they're completely different than you. If they are somewhat genuine, which they probably aren't. They grew up in a totally different time, totally different situation than you did. So it's just like you have such an amazing. We have such an amazing experience in front of us right here, and we can overcome the world together and like lean on each other and. Yeah, it's amazing. It feels so open and interesting, and like we are children right now. Like every day, I never know what's gonna happen. The pitfalls don't bother me anymore, and we can speak up about this stuff and really oust the negative aura from our surroundings.
Absolutely. I forgot there was another chapter after this. But do you have any more comments on that last one? I don't have too many.
No, I think that was very sound. I mean, it's interesting again, like kind of like Jesus coming and going. I thought it interesting that the 20, verily, verily, I say unto you that ye shall weep and lament, but the world shall rejoice. So with the irony.
Yeah.
And then ye shall be sorrowful, but your sorrow shall be turned into joy. So it's like be patient. Like maybe there is stuff right now that's hitting you hard and it bothers you, but then when you realize it's all coming from this like automatic, like this obvious evil entity who's like God put there. God put Satan here. Like it's like it's here as like a test. It's here to it messes with us and it screws up with us, and but it's also like it's here for a reason. And by overcoming it, our sorrow is turned into joy. We're able to see right through all the satanic fakery. I mean, so much violence is just fake. Like that's such a big, like the war, the serial killers, the school shootings. Like knowing all that's fake does so much for your psyche. So like the sorrow you had that people are doing this, oh, it's so evil, but it's like, yeah, but that's what they are. Like, that's what they do. Like, they, that's what they do. That's what they are. But it's all fake. So, wow, thankfully, no one really got hurt. That is wonderful. That's amazing.
Right.
It was just these actors on stage, and maybe they think it's funny and it's evil for them to think that, but at the end of the day, if they are just children, putting up signs and communicating to each other in these covert ways, then uh, us spreading the word, they're gonna either realize that they're wrong and repent, or it will just be hollow. Like we're just not gonna listen to them. So it's like it's like, hey, you guys have a chance to repent because we don't believe it anyways. Like here it is, like no, most all truthers know, like politics is a sham. Most all truthers know that like a lot of these shootings and like, a lot of this violent stuff is faked. So like there's just so much for the psyche. Like it's amazing. It gives
Yeah, I like how you're applying that. I think personally, it's talking about the disciples not seeing Jesus anymore and how Jesus will be crucified, and then later their great rejoicing when Jesus comes back.
Yeah, no, yeah, it makes that's definitely what they're going for there. And yeah, like knowing that, having faith that just because he's not present in the flesh right now doesn't mean he's gone, and that having a deeper connection to God. But yeah, I guess thinking of the allegory there of coming into this truth and realizing that like so much of the stuff that's designed to freak you out and scare you, the rumors of wars and all that, it's just smoke and mirrors. And yeah, I think it ultimately does give you joy because it's just a circus. That's so relieving. We've had Jesus. We've had Jesus the whole time, and He is coming back. Thank God, we have this amazing connection to God that will break through. I mean, He's telepathic. They can't do anything. You cannot touch Him.
All the signs are here, and He's going to be coming back soon. It's wonderful.
It's so cool. It's amazing.
At the door. It's at the door.
It's at the door, and you like it just like this concept gets introduced to you in outer space land, where you think like on these giant time scales, and He's basically gone, and it's just not the case. We stuff I think is cool is speculated 150, 200 years ago. I mean, maybe less. I mean, we don't know.
Right.
The time scales.
And I've seen good evidence on like coins and stuff that they used to think that they turned the letter I, which used to be like the letter J, for the years after Christ. There's about like 1,000 years missing based off just the coin records of things. Because I'll try to link the video in the comment section if I can remember right. But it's this great video about how we're missing 1,000 years of our history according to coin records.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, is that a John Levi one?
No, I don't think so. It was kind of like this independent guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Because it's like all the answers are really there, but you really have to dig. But yeah, that makes perfect sense that there's just at least 1,000 years fabricated based on that old style of lettering. The corners, yeah.
So interesting. And I gotta go 1 second.
Oh yeah. Hello? Oh. Let's see. When we get to John 17. It's good stuff.
Alright.
Do we want to do John 17, or is there anything else we want to address?
Yeah, could you close that out with the audience?
Yeah, for sure.
Alright, well, I'm just going to listen in the background and see if I have anything to add.
Okay, so I'll read John 17.
Yeah.
All right, so these words spake Jesus, and lifted up his eyes to heaven, and said, Father, the hour is come. Glorify thy Son, that thy Son also may glorify thee, as thou hast given him power over all flesh, that he should give eternal life to as many as thou hast given him. And this is life eternal, that they might know thee, the only true God, and Jesus Christ whom thou hast sent. I have glorified thee on the earth. I have finished the work which thou gavest me to do. And now, O Father, glorify thou me with thine own self, with the glory which I had with thee before the world was. I have manifested thy name unto the men which thou gavest me out of the world. Thine they were, and thou gavest them to me, and they have kept thy word. Now they have known that all things whatsoever thou hast given me are of thee. For I have given unto them the words which thou gavest me, and they have received them, and have known surely that I came out from thee, and they have believed that thou didst send me. I pray for them. I pray not for the world, but for them which thou hast given me, for they are thine. That's really interesting. I pray not for the world, but I pray for them that hast given me, for they are thine. And all mine are thine, and thine are mine, and I am glorified in them. So we are Christ. We are of Christ. That is, yeah, he's saying we're the connection. And now I am no more in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to thee, Holy Father, keep through thine own name those whom thou hast given me, that they may be one as we are. While I was with them in the world, I kept them in thy name. Those that thou gavest me I have kept, and none of them is lost, but the son of perdition, that the scripture might be fulfilled. So that's got to be Satan, the son of perdition, or Lucifer. And now come I to thee, and these things I speak in the world, that they might have my joy fulfilled in themselves. I have given them thy word, and the world hath hated them, because they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. I pray not that thou shouldest taken them out of the world, but that thou shouldest keep them from the evil. They are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. Sanctify them through thy truth. Thy word is truth. As thou hast sent me into the world, even so have I also sent them into the world. And for their sakes I sanctify myself, that they also might be sanctified through the truth. Neither pray I for these alone, but for them also which shall believe on me through their word, that they may all be one as thou, Father, art in me, and I in thee, that they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that thou hast sent me, in the world which thou... The quadrinity, yes. The 21 right there, that they all may be as one, as thou, Father, art in me, and I in thee, that they also may be one in us. Yes, that the world may believe that thou hast sent me. And the glory which thou gavest me, I have given them, and they may be one, even as we are one. I in them, and thou in me, that they may be made perfect in one, and that the world may know that thou hast sent me, and hast loved them as thou hast loved me. Father, I will that they also, whom thou hast given me, be with me where I am, that they may behold my glory which thou hast given me, for thou lovest me before the foundation of the world. O righteous Father, the world hath not known thee, but I have known thee, and these have known that thou hast sent me. And I have declared unto them thy name, and I will declare it, that the love wherewith thou hast loved me may be in them, and I in them. And, oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
There's it is amazing. It is the guide, the beacon through the fog, and then the fog dissipates and it's all light, and it feels like that. It feels like, Hans has talked about this world feels more virtual. Everything's moving up. Like it feels like the more and more truth we're finding, the more we're talking openly about this stuff, the more we're sharing, and better we're getting, and we're becoming more and more like Christ, and we are, because we are Him. We are. It's like a long expression of Him through many different vessels, and it's like no matter how crazy the scenario we get thrown into, we find a way. We find the path, the one way, because the broad way is so gross, and it's not easy, but it also is, because we have this this deeper faith, and oh man, it gets me, it gets me going. This is really good stuff.
Right. I'm glad we went over it.
Yeah. It's so helpful.
All right, I can't talk much more, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a good chat.
I'm in the gulag.
Yeah. Yep. I know those feels.
Said I can't talk much more. I'm in the gulag. Said I have to go. Alright.
Alright, bro. Well,
Alright, well, I gotta go.
Alright, yeah. It was great chatting, and we'll have to talk again soon and work on some good video ideas.
Alright, for sure. Bye-bye.
Alright, goodbye. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. And have a wonderful day.